The house was older than anything Rylan had seen since the war ended. Its walls leaned like they were tired of standing, and the wind that whistled through the broken shutters sounded almost like a voice trying to remember a song. The people in town had warned him, politely at first, then firmly, not to buy the old manor at the edge of New Arcadia's reconstruction zone. "It remembers," one old woman had said at the fuel station, her voice trembling. "That house remembers everyone who lived there, and some who didn't." Rylan had only smiled, his synthetic left hand tightening around the fuel nozzle, as he muttered that he'd lived through worse than ghosts. The war had taken enough from him, his squad, his sleep, half his body, and now all he wanted was quiet. The house had been cheap. Too cheap. The contract had come through instantly, no owner listed, no signature needed. Just his thumbprint and a whisper in the digital paperwork. Accepted. When he first saw it in person, the world fell strangely silent. Even the constant hum of the new Arcadian hoverdrives above the city faded. The air around the manor was still. He stood at the gate, holding the rusted key, and thought for a moment that the place looked almost alive. Vines grew in symmetrical lines, wrapping the porch rails like veins. The wooden panels shimmered faintly when the sun hit them, reflecting light like metal. He blamed it on leftover war nerves. His implants sometimes picked up energy distortions. But still, a shiver ran through him when the door unlocked before he turned the key. Inside, the air was cool, stale, but not dead. Dust floated lazily in golden shafts of light from cracked windows. The floorboards creaked under his boots, though the sound didn't echo the way it should have. Felt absorbed. The place smelled faintly metallic, like a storm brewing. He unloaded his gear. Old duffel bags, a half-functioning scanner drone, a box of metals he never wanted, and made his way upstairs. That was when he saw it. The attic door. It was the only one that didn't fit the house's architecture. Smooth metallic surface, seamless edges, no knob, no keyhole. Just a faint circular imprint in the center that pulsed with dim white light. He touched it once, and the air around his hand vibrated, like static electricity. The door didn't open, but the pulse quickened for a heartbeat before fading. He pulled his hand back fast, heart racing. "Old tech," he whispered to himself. "Probably leftover infrastructure from before the war." He told himself that again and again that night as he unpacked. By dusk, the house seemed calmer. He sat in the living room with a can of nutrient ale, watching the walls flicker faintly in the firelight from his portable heater. It was quiet enough that he could hear the hum of his cybernetic hand as he flexed it. For the first time in years, he thought maybe he could rest here. Maybe this place really could be home. Then the lights flickered. Once, twice, and the whisper came. It was soft, distant, like someone speaking from under the floorboards. He froze. The whisper grew clearer. A woman's voice, gentle but trembling. "You came back." Rylan stood slowly, his heart pounding in his chest. He looked toward the staircase. The shadows stretched long and deep, almost moving on their own. "Who's there?" he called out, but his voice sounded small, swallowed by the house's strange acoustics. No answer, only the faint creak of a door upstairs. He grabbed his scanner drone and sent it hovering ahead. Its sensor lights flicked across the hallway. Nothing, no heat signature, no life signs, not even an energy source. And yet the air itself seemed to breathe. As he followed the drone up, he noticed lines of faint blue glowing along the walls, patterns like circuitry etched into the wood. He traced one with his fingers and felt it hum beneath the surface. His military implants buzzed in sync, reading fragments of data, old and scrambled. Name, Rylan, return, error, unit lost. He cut the feed instantly. His pulse thundered. This wasn't just old tech, it was alien. He'd seen fragments of this design before, deep in the war archives, when humanity had stumbled upon the ruins of an extinct civilization on the far side of the Orion Belt. They'd called them the Architects. No one ever figured out what had happened to them, but their ruins had been alive, just like this house. A sound behind him made him whirl around. The scanner drone had stopped. Its lights blinked red. System interference detected. It crackled before shutting down completely. The air grew heavier. Rylan swallowed hard, taking slow steps toward the attic. The circular imprint on the door was glowing brighter now, pale silver light spilling down the stairs like moonlight. He reached the landing. The hum grew louder. His implants began to resonate painfully, like feedback in his skull. "What do you want?" he muttered through clenched teeth. Then the voice returned, clearer now, directly behind his ear. "I waited for you." He spun around. No one. Only shadows. The whisper came again, softer. "You promised." His throat went dry. "Who are you?" he demanded. The glow from the attic door pulsed in answer. The light seemed to throb in time with his heartbeat. He took a step closer, drawn without meaning to. When he touched the surface, warmth spread through his fingers, spreading up his arm, into his chest. A flood of images filled his mind. Stars collapsing, a battlefield of light and shadow, and a woman's eyes, silver like mercury, filled with tears. Her voice echoed in his skull. "You left me behind." He gasped and stumbled backward, breaking the contact. The attic door pulsed once more, brighter, faster, until the entire hallway shimmered with energy. His scanner drone reactivated suddenly, hovering in front of him, its sensors spinning wildly. Unidentified energy surge, quantum signature unknown. Then silence, and a sound like metal unsealing. The attic door split open down the center, folding outward with a hiss of light. Warm air flowed out, carrying the scent of rain and ozone. Rylan raised his arm to shield his eyes, squinting into the glow. A shape stood there, backlit against the shimmer, small, graceful, hair glowing faintly silver. When she stepped forward, the light followed her, like it obeyed her will. Her skin shimmered faintly blue, her eyes a soft metallic hue that reflected his stunned face. She looked at him as though she'd known him forever, as though the years between them hadn't existed at all. "Who?" he started, but his voice caught. She smiled faintly, tears glistening in her eyes. "You don't remember me?" she said softly. "Not yet." He shook his head. "I think you're mistaken." "I?" She stepped closer, and the air seemed to tremble. "You promised me you'd come back." "I don't even know your name," he whispered. Her gaze didn't waver. "Alara," she said almost in a breath. "Your wife." The silence that followed was unbearable. His mind struggled to catch up, to find logic in the madness. "I think there's been a mistake," he said finally, backing away slightly. "I just bought this place." Alara's expression softened, sadness flickering across her face. "Bought?" she repeated, as if the word meant nothing. "No, you reclaimed it." She reached out, fingertips hovering near his chest, and the faint glow of the walls pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. "It remembered you before I did." Rylan's breath came shallow now, his mechanical hand trembling slightly. "I'm not who you think I am." But deep down, something in him ached, like a memory trying to surface. The scar on his arm burned faintly, matching the pattern of light on her wrist. The lights in the hallway began to dim, flickering as the house itself seemed to sigh. Somewhere beneath their feet, machinery stirred. A deep, distant hum that didn't belong in any human building. Alara turned toward the sound, her eyes widening. "It's waking," she whispered. Rylan frowned. "What's waking?" She looked back at him, her voice trembling with emotion. "The promise you made." Before he could respond, the attic light flared, flooding the entire corridor in blinding white. The last thing he saw was Alara's silver eyes locking onto his, filled with recognition and longing. Then the door behind her sealed shut again with a whisper that sounded unmistakably human. "My husband." Rylan didn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, the images returned. Not as dreams, but as living echoes that burned behind his eyelids. Stars collapsing into silver spirals, vast cities made of light, an army of ships shaped like wings stretching across the void. And always, always her face, Alara's, framed by the shimmer of alien constellations. He sat in the corner of his new home, a half-empty can of ale forgotten beside him, as the faint hum of the house pulsed through the floorboards like a heartbeat. When dawn came, the walls seemed to breathe with the light. The attic door remained closed, silent now, but he could feel her presence. He wasn't sure whether it comforted him or terrified him. When he finally went upstairs, the door opened before he could touch it. This time there was no bright flash, only a soft glow that filled the attic like moonlight filtered through water. The room beyond was nothing like the dusty crawlspace he expected. Smooth metallic panels curved along the ceiling, lined with faintly glowing veins of light. Strange symbols pulsed across them like living script. In the center of the room stood Alara, barefoot, her silver hair falling around her face, eyes fixed on him with a mixture of hope and fear. "You came back," she said again, more softly this time. Rylan hesitated at the threshold. "You keep saying that," he muttered, "but I don't even know who you are." "You do," she replied gently. "You've just forgotten." Her words settled heavily in the air between them. Forgotten. He wanted to laugh, to tell her she was wrong, that he was just a tired soldier with too many scars and too few answers. But his left arm ached. Not the mechanical one, the real one. The old scar just below his elbow burned faintly. When he rolled up his sleeve, he froze. The mark had changed. Thin, silver lines now branched from it, forming patterns that glowed softly under the attic light. Alara watched quietly, her expression unreadable. Then, without a word, she extended her wrist. The same pattern glowed there, identical to his. The symbols pulsed once, and the room seemed to respond. The walls brightened. The floor shimmered faintly beneath their feet. Rylan's throat went dry. "What is this? Some kind of alien tech?" Her lips curved into a sad smile. "It's a bond," she whispered. "You made it." "I didn't make anything," he snapped, stepping back. "I bought this house 2 days ago." She tilted her head, studying him like he was a puzzle she'd already solved once. "You always said time was linear because humans needed it to be. But not everything obeys your kind's idea of before and after." He stared at her, his pulse pounding. "You're saying I what?" "Lived another life." She closed the distance between them slowly, her steps almost soundless. "Not another life. The same one. Just folded differently." Before he could respond, she raised her hand, and a shimmer of light spread from her palm. Not holographic, not quite physical either. The air rippled like water disturbed by a stone. Then the attic dissolved around him. He was standing somewhere else. A battlefield stretched to the horizon. Alien skies burning orange, cities collapsing in the distance. Rylan staggered backward, the metallic tang of smoke in his throat. The ground trembled beneath him as ships roared overhead, firing beams of light that turned the air to fire. He looked down. His uniform was different, darker, marked with symbols he didn't recognize. And next to him stood Alara, dressed in armor that shimmered like living glass. "This is impossible," he whispered. She turned to him, her face illuminated by the glow of the burning skyline. "You told me once that nothing was impossible for humans. That's what made me love you." He shook his head, clutching his temples. No, this isn't real." "It's a memory," she said. "Yours. Ours." A blast thundered nearby, throwing dust into the air. Through the haze, he saw alien soldiers, tall, elegant, eyes like molten gold, retreating as human troops advanced. The humans were shouting his name. "Rylan! Commander Rylan!" The barriers collapsing. "Commander!" The word echoed through him like an earthquake. He turned toward Alara, heart hammering. "What was I doing here?" She reached out, touching his arm gently. "Ending the war. You chose peace, even when it cost you everything." The scene flickered. The burning city dimmed, replaced by a vast chamber filled with soft blue light. Rylan stood before a massive device, a core pulsing like a heartbeat. Alara stood beside him, tears glistening. "If you activate it," she said, her voice breaking, "the memory field will collapse. You'll forget me." He'd reached for her then, taking her hand, pressing it to his chest. "Then promise me one thing," he'd said, his own voice echoing now through the vision. "If I forget, Find me again. Her tears had fallen like silver droplets, vanishing before they hit the ground. Across any sky, any lifetime, she'd whispered. I'll find you. The vision shattered. Rylan gasped, collapsing to his knees on the attic floor. The metallic surface was cold against his palms, grounding him back in the present. Alara knelt beside him, her expression pained. You remember, she said softly. He looked up at her, breath ragged. I remember fragments. But how could any of that be real? Because it never ended, she replied simply. We built this place together, a sanctuary to survive the end of everything. She gestured around them, her hand sweeping across the strange walls. The house isn't what it seems. It's alive, protects us. Rylan stared at the walls, feeling the faint pulse again, matching his own heartbeat. Protect us from what? Her eyes darkened. From them. Before he could ask who, the lights flickered violently. The hum grew louder, deeper, vibrating through the floorboards. The attic's panels began to shift, rearranging themselves into flowing geometric patterns. The air shimmered. What's happening? He shouted, stepping back. Alara turned, her face pale. They found a trace. Who did? The Galactic Order, she said, her voice trembling. They've been searching for you since the war. You were their weapon once, until you refused. He stared at her, disbelief warring with terror. You're saying they're still out there? After all this time? She met his gaze. Time doesn't move here the way it does out there. The memory field slows everything, hides us. That's why you've forgotten. Rylan's pulse quickened. The walls flickered faster, the glow from the markings turning crimson. Alara, what do we do? She stepped closer, placing her hands on his chest. You have to remember everything before they breach the field. It's the only way to protect what's left of us. He grabbed her wrists, his voice low and desperate. Tell me where we are. Her eyes shimmered, sadness and love tangled together. Not on Earth, she whispered. We haven't been for a very long time. Rylan's stomach dropped. The hum grew into a low roar, the room vibrating violently now. He looked around, heart racing. Then where are we? Alara's voice was barely a whisper, almost lost in the noise. On the edge of the memory field, she said. The last place left that remembers us both. Then the light in the attic flared to white, and the house shuddered as if something enormous had finally found them. The house was no longer still. Every wall seemed to breathe. Every corridor hummed with the sound of something ancient awakening from a long slumber. The metallic shimmer that once faintly pulsed under the wooden panels now spread like veins of liquid silver, crawling up door frames and across ceilings. Rylan stood in the living room, his pulse pounding in his ears, feeling the tremor beneath his feet as if the ground itself were alive. Outside the window, the world flickered. One moment, the gray dawn of New Arcadia's outskirts. The next, the swirling red haze of some alien sky. The field was destabilizing. Alara moved around the room with quiet precision, her hands glowing faintly as she traced symbols across the air, forming intricate patterns of light that hovered briefly before sinking into the walls. Rylan watched her, his mind spinning. You said the Order found us, he muttered. How? You said this field was impenetrable. She stopped, her face drawn tight with concentration. It was, she said softly, until you started remembering. His eyes narrowed. You're saying I broke the field? Alara turned toward him, her silver hair catching the flickering light. It was meant to respond to both of us, she said. Our memories feed it. The more you remember, the more it tries to reconstruct reality as it was. That's what they've detected. Your mind tearing open what we sealed. Rylan felt a chill crawl down his spine. Then maybe I should stop remembering. Her eyes flashed with sudden emotion. If you stop, the Order wins. You don't understand, Rylan. They didn't just end the war. They rewrote it. He frowned, confusion mixing with dread. Rewrote it? What does that even mean? She took a deep breath, as if bracing herself. The war wasn't between humans and aliens. It was between those who wanted memory and those who wanted control. The Galactic Order used your technology, our bond, to erase entire histories. They didn't destroy species, Rylan. They unmade them. The room tilted slightly, the walls stretching as if reacting to her words. Rylan grabbed the edge of the table to steady himself. That's impossible. Alara stepped closer, her voice trembling. You said that before, too. Right before you tried to stop them. A sharp flash hit his mind. Images that weren't dreams, but recollections snapping violently into place. He was standing in a vast war chamber surrounded by holographic stars, soldiers shouting, alarms blaring. He saw the Galactic Order's insignia, a circle of burning light, emblazoned on the screens. He saw himself, older, shouting orders to ships that no longer existed. And then he saw Alara, bound, light bleeding from her chest like she was being torn apart by time itself. The memory hit him like a blade. He staggered back, gasping. I remember the fall of the Alliance, he whispered. We built something, humans and your kind, a union. But someone betrayed it. Alara nodded slowly, her expression hollow. Someone you trusted. Rylan's stomach twisted. Who? Before she could answer, the house lurched violently. A deep rumble shook the floorboards, and the light through the windows shattered into shifting colors. Rylan stumbled, bracing himself against the wall. Alara's eyes widened. They've entered the outer layer, she said. We don't have much time. Rylan's soldier instincts kicked in. What do we do? She raised her hand again, forming another lattice of light in the air. There are corridors, fractures in the field. They'll lead to memory anchors. You have to stabilize them. He blinked. You're telling me to walk into hallucinations? She smiled faintly. Not hallucinations. Memories made solid. You've done it before. Before he could argue, the walls around them shifted. The living room folded inward, the furniture melting into shadow. A doorway appeared where there hadn't been one before. Tall, metallic, humming with faint blue light. Beyond it, he could see a corridor that didn't belong to any house. The walls were glass, showing vast alien landscapes outside. Burning skies, floating continents, rivers of light. Rylan stared in stunned silence. What the hell is this? Alara's voice was quiet, almost reverent. The inside of your mind, and what's left of ours. He turned toward her, heart racing. You expect me to just walk in there? She met his gaze with steady resolve. You already are. He looked down, and saw his boots sinking slightly into the metallic floor as if it were liquid. The air grew heavy, shimmering with static. Then, without warning, the room folded completely, swallowing him in light. He stumbled into the corridor. The temperature changed instantly, colder, sharper. The hum of machinery filled the air, and the floor beneath him pulsed faintly like it had a heartbeat. Through the glass walls, he saw glimpses of entire worlds collapsing into themselves, as if time were imploding. In the distance, faint black silhouettes moved, tall, angular figures, their limbs too long, their eyes glowing gold. Scouts. Rylan's hand went instinctively to his hip, but his old pulse sidearm wasn't there. Great, he muttered, running through alien brain tunnels without a gun. He followed the corridor, his footsteps echoing strangely, like they were out of sync with time. As he walked, flashes hit him again, memories cutting across reality like lightning strikes. He saw his own hand pressing against a glass console, shouting commands to fleets of human and alien ships working side by side. He saw the moment of betrayal, his closest officer lowering a weapon, eyes glowing gold like the scouts. The sound of approaching footsteps pulled him out of the vision. He turned sharply, pressing against the wall. The scouts' shadows stretched down the corridor, 3 of them, moving with precision. He held his breath, watching as they passed. Their armor shimmered, the same burning insignia glowing on their chests. The Galactic Order. When they were gone, he exhaled slowly and moved forward. The corridor bent sharply to the left, and that's when he saw it. A body lying against the wall. At first, he thought it was one of the scouts. Then he saw the face. His own. Rylan froze. The corpse's eyes were half open, staring into nothing. The skin was pale, the veins faintly glowing silver, like energy had burned through them from within. The uniform, it was the same one he was wearing right now, every torn seam, every smudge of dust identical. Even the faint bloodstain on the right sleeve was in the same place. He crouched slowly, disbelief turning to nausea. "This can't be real," he whispered. But as he reached out to touch the body, his mechanical fingers brushed the cold surface of its chest, and the world around him shifted violently. The corridor lights dimmed, flickering erratically. The glass walls darkened, showing reflections instead of landscapes. And in the reflection, he saw not one but two of himself. One standing, one dead, and behind them Alara, her eyes glowing brighter than before. Her voice echoed softly through the corridor, carrying a tremor of fear. "You were never supposed to see that yet." Rylan turned sharply. "What the hell is this?" he demanded. The light behind her pulsed like a heartbeat. "That's the you who stayed," she said quietly. "And the you I buried." The light behind her pulsed like a heartbeat. "That's the you who stayed," she said quietly. "And the you I buried." The hum of the corridor grew louder. Somewhere in the distance, alarms began to wail. Alara's image flickered, glitching between present and memory. "They've breached the inner layer," she whispered. "If you don't remember everything now, neither of you will survive." Rylan looked back down at his own lifeless face, the silver veins pulsing faintly, as if the corpse itself was trying to breathe again. Then the reflection shifted one last time. His dead self opened its eyes. The air trembled as Alara's words lingered, heavy and impossible. Rylan stood frozen in the flickering light of the attic, his breath shallow, his thoughts a storm. The alien girl, the one who had called him her husband, the one who moved with the quiet sorrow of someone who had lived too many lives, was now standing before him, her silver hair glowing faintly in the blue pulse of the shifting walls. "You're not supposed to remember this soon," she said softly, her voice like a song played on broken glass. "But the field is breaking. The truth is coming back faster than I thought." Rylan's jaw tightened. "The truth? You're telling me I'm what? A copy? Some experiment?" Alara's eyes glimmered, not with anger but with pain. "Not a copy. A promise kept." She reached out and touched his wrist. The moment her fingers met his skin, a surge of light burst between them. The air shimmered, folding inward, and suddenly he wasn't standing in the attic anymore. He was standing beneath a sky that burned gold and crimson, twin suns bleeding over a sea of glass. Towers of living metal rose in the distance, bending like trees in the wind. Around him, soldiers, human and alien alike, stood on a battlefield littered with the wreckage of ships that still glowed from plasma fire. He felt the weight of armor on his chest, smelled smoke and ionized air. And beside him, Alara, wearing the same insignia he remembered from the Galactic peace delegation. Her voice echoed in his mind. "You promised me, Rylan. You said if the stars burned, we'd rebuild them together." The memory cracked apart, and he stumbled backward into the attic, gasping. His hands shook. The scars on his forearm, the ones he'd always thought were burns, now shimmered faintly, forming strange geometric patterns that pulsed in rhythm with Alara's markings. "I didn't just find you," she said quietly. "I brought you back. The war ended, but not for me. I couldn't let you go." Her voice trembled, and something in her tone, the rawness, the guilt, made Rylan's chest tighten. "You used forbidden resurrection tech," he said slowly. "You broke the laws of your own kind." Alara nodded. "I did worse. I stole the seed of my dying planet, its core consciousness, and built this house. It's not just a home, Rylan. It's a shell of my world. A sanctuary for what's left of us." Outside, the wind howled through the broken shutters, though the night was still. The air buzzed faintly with power. "You mean this place," Rylan gestured around, "is alive?" Alara's eyes shifted toward the ceiling. "Alive, yes, but asleep. And it remembers you. Every wall, Every whisper, every flicker of light. It's been waiting for the promise we made. Rylan swallowed hard. You said I died. You did, she whispered. You died stopping the Order's strike. You stood between their fleet and my world's core. You burned before my eyes. The words hit him like bullets. He saw flashes, ships descending through clouds of fire, her scream across the comms, the shattering of glass and light. His own voice, distant and echoing through time. If love can't end this war, then let me be the proof it should. He staggered, gripping the wall for balance. So you brought me back, he muttered. And this body, this life, isn't mine. It is you, she said, stepping closer. Your mind, your essence, the part of you that chose peace over destruction. I rebuilt you from your own memory fragments stored in the Galactic archive. That's not life, he said bitterly. That's theft from the grave. Her eyes glistened. I know, but I couldn't lose you again. A deep rumble shook the floor beneath them. Dust fell from the rafters. Lights flared red, then dimmed. They've found us, she whispered. The Galactic Order. Their scouts have locked onto the field distortion. We have minutes. Rylan's training, the instinct buried under confusion and pain, kicked in. Then we run, he said. No, Alara's voice turned firm, steady. The voice of someone who had faced extinction. Running won't work. The field will collapse, and the Order will take the house, and what's left of my world. Apart atom by atom. There's only one way to survive. She looked him in the eyes, and her pupils glowed faintly, the way stars did before dying. We have to awaken the house. He stared at her. Awaken it? You said it was your planet's core. How do you awaken a planet? She stepped toward the center of the attic, kneeling beside an intricate set of symbols burned into the floorboards, ones that pulsed in sync with her heartbeat. The core's consciousness is asleep inside the crystalline heart beneath us, she said. But it responds to both of us. You were bound to it through me. Our union wasn't just love, Rylan, it was a link between species, between human mind and alien soul. Together, we can wake it. Rylan shook his head, disbelief written all over his face. You're saying this house, this world, knows me because it's part of you. Yes, she whispered. And part of you too. Another quake hit, harder this time. The walls rippled like liquid metal. Through a window, Rylan saw flashes in the sky, blue beams cutting through the clouds. They're scanning, Alara said. Once they breach the field, they'll erase us. You, me, and every memory you ever had. She reached for his hand, her touch trembling. Rylan, please, trust me again. He stared at her, the woman who claimed to have crossed death itself for him, the alien who carried both love and guilt in her eyes. And if I don't? He asked. She looked down, voice almost breaking. Then the promise that broke the stars will break again. And this time, there won't be anything left to fix it. Lightning flashed outside, a silent, white surge. The walls began to move, literally move, bending inward, forming new corridors that weren't there before. Rylan felt the floor pulse beneath his feet like a heartbeat. Somewhere below, deep under the house, something vast and ancient stirred. He could feel it, the pull, the hum of something alive, waiting. Alara, he said slowly. If this thing wakes up, what happens? She looked at him, tears shining in her strange, luminous eyes. If it wakes, it will remember its purpose, to protect what's left of its people, to protect us. But it will also remember the war. And it won't care who started it. The air crackled. A sharp hum rose from the floor, like a chorus of voices whispering in reverse. Rylan's mind flooded with memories. Hundreds, thousands of them. Lives he had never lived, faces he had never seen, and always Alara, laughing beside him under alien skies, holding his hand before battle, crying as the stars burned. He fell to his knees, gasping. I can't. There's too much. You have to hold it, she shouted, gripping his shoulders. It's linking with you. The house shuddered again, lights flashing like lightning veins through the walls. Rylan, she whispered in his ear. This is what we fought for. Love that defied extinction. Don't let it end here. The floor split open beneath them. A blinding light erupted, swallowing the attic in gold and white. Rylan screamed as he felt something immense pushing into his mind. Not pain, but presence. A consciousness older than stars, speaking in a language beyond sound. He felt Alara's hand in his, her energy intertwined with his own. The house roared, walls twisting and stretching as if the entire structure was coming alive. Through the light, Rylan saw shapes. Tendrils of metal, liquid glass, circuits glowing like veins. The planet's core, rising, remembering. Alara's voice broke through the chaos. You asked what awakening means, she said, her voice trembling between love and fear. It means, it remembers what we were willing to die for. The light consumed everything. For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then a deep, resonant tone filled the air. Not mechanical, not natural, but living. The house's voice spoke through the walls in 1,000 overlapping whispers, saying only one thing: he has returned. And then, as the light faded and the world began to rebuild itself around them, Rylan saw Alara collapse, her markings dimming, her body flickering between solid and transparent. Alara! He shouted, catching her before she fell. Her lips moved weakly, her eyes fading. The core took what it needed, she whispered. To awaken, it needed a sacrifice. She smiled faintly, a tear rolling down her cheek. You came back, my love. That's all that matters. The walls pulsed once, like a heartbeat slowing down, and then everything went still. Outside, the Order's ships hung silent in the sky, motionless, as if frozen mid-flight. Rylan looked down at Alara's still body in his arms and whispered, "What did you do?" The house whispered back in a dozen voices at once, soft and cold. She gave you her place. And then the floor beneath him began to split open again. Only this time, something from below was rising. The ground shuddered beneath Rylan's boots, sending a deep vibration through the floorboards that felt more like a heartbeat than an earthquake. The attic lights pulsed rhythmically, as if the house itself was inhaling. He stumbled backward, still clutching Alara's limp body, her silver hair spilling like liquid light across his arms. The air buzzed with static, thick enough to make his vision flicker. Somewhere deep below, something vast was awakening. Something that had slept beneath the structure for centuries, dreaming in silence and waiting for his return. He didn't understand how he knew that, but he did. The knowledge wasn't learned. It was remembered. The walls rippled like water. Beams and support struts melted into smooth, metallic veins that glowed faintly blue, tracing intricate alien patterns along the ceilings and floors. The old house, the creaking, time-worn refuge he'd bought with quiet hopes of peace, was no longer wood and stone. It was alive. It was becoming. He could hear whispers in the vibration, hundreds of overlapping voices speaking his name in 1,000 tones. Some human, some not. Rylan, the returning one. The link restored. He staggered toward the window, heart hammering, and saw the night sky burning with descending streaks of light. Galactic Order interceptors cutting through the clouds. Alara, he whispered, kneeling beside her still form. Her skin glowed faintly, but her chest no longer moved. You said this would protect us. Tell me what to do. The ship, the house, answered for her. The floor parted beneath him, forming a descending platform of luminous strands that cradled her body before drawing her down into the structure. Wait, no! Rylan shouted, trying to follow, but the ground solidified beneath him again. A voice, smooth, ancient, and genderless, spoke inside his head. Preservation initiated. Host essence integration required. Host essence? He muttered. What does that even? His words broke off as the walls around him began to unfold like the petals of a massive flower. The roof opened to the sky, exposing the storm-torn night above. The air filled with the roar of transforming metal and the sound of space folding. The entire structure rose on invisible energy, pieces locking together in intricate movements faster than thought. The attic walls became curved glass panels. The floors turned translucent, revealing streams of bioluminescent circuitry flowing beneath like rivers of light. In the span of seconds, Rylan realized he was standing inside the core of something enormous. A ship that looked grown rather than built. The old house had shed its disguise like a cocoon. "What are you?" he whispered. The voice inside his mind answered softly. "I am the vessel of the fallen world. I am what she left behind. And you, Rylan, are my pilot." Before he could question it, he felt a rush of alien energy sweep through his body. His vision blurred, his muscles tightened, and suddenly he knew things: how to move, how to think, how to fly. The ship was feeding him knowledge through the link Alara had forged between them. He reached out, and the glass-like panels around him shimmered, shifting under his fingertips like liquid. Outside, beams of plasma fire rained from the Order's ships. The house, no, the bioship, responded instinctively, lifting higher, each pulse of its energy field scattering the attacks like dust. Rylan wasn't just flying it. He was inside it, merged with it. When he moved his hands, the vessel turned. When his heart raced, the engines burned brighter. He could feel Alara's presence somewhere deep within the core. Faint, but alive, intertwined with the ship's own consciousness. "Alara," he whispered, "if you can hear me, we're flying." The voice in his head deepened, reverberating with emotion. "She is part of me now. Her memory guides you." The ship's hull expanded into sweeping wings of metallic light, each one alive with energy. Below, the colony lights of New Arcadia blurred as they ascended into the upper atmosphere. But the Order's fleet was already closing in, sleek, angular warships forming a web around them. A timer appeared in his vision. Flickering in alien numerals he somehow understood. Field collapse in 320 seconds. "Great," he muttered. 5 minutes to figure out how to outrun an entire fleet. The ship responded with a low hum, almost like laughter. "Your instincts are enough." Rylan gritted his teeth and pushed forward with his mind. The vessel surged ahead, slicing through the atmosphere, leaving trails of glowing particles in its wake. Plasma blasts streaked past the hull, missing by inches. He banked hard left, the ship moving like a living creature. Smooth, fluid, terrifyingly graceful. It was like dancing with something that already knew every step. But the Order's ships adapted quickly. A command signal pulsed through space, and a formation of interceptors broke off, locking onto him. The voice in Rylan's mind shifted tone. "They are adjusting their trajectory. The leader carries command authority." "Then take it out," he said. Targeting sequence initiated. But before the weapon systems could charge, a transmission cut through the comms, overriding all frequencies. The bioship went still for a heartbeat, as though holding its breath. "Incoming holographic feed," it said. "Source, Galactic Command." The air in front of Rylan shimmered, forming a life-sized hologram. He froze. His blood ran cold. Staring back at him wasn't a stranger. It was himself, older, colder, wearing the insignia of a galactic fleet admiral. The hologram smirked. "So, it worked. You survived." Rylan took a step back. "What is this?" he demanded. The older version's eyes narrowed. "This is the part where you remember what you were meant to forget." "You're not real," Rylan whispered. "You can't be." The hologram tilted its head. "I'm as real as you are, because I am you." The ship's systems began flickering, reacting to the transmission. The voice in Rylan's head turned sharp. "Warning. Neural interference detected. Identity resonance conflict." "What does that mean?" he shouted. The ship hesitated. "It means the one before you commands the fleet. He is your original self." The hologram smiled thinly, his tone dripping with authority. "That's right. You're the clone. The copy built to believe in peace. The idealist Alara wanted. But His eyes hardened. "I ended the war by burning everything she loved." Rylan felt the air leave his lungs. "You killed her world?" The hologram's face didn't flinch. "It was necessary. The Order demanded unity, and the only way to achieve it was through obedience." He leaned closer, voice cold and metallic. You were my conscience, Rylan. The part of me she couldn't destroy. Now you're flying the last weapon she built to stop me. The ship's alarms flared red. Incoming fleet signature match confirmed. Command carrier, Admiral Rylan Core. The hologram smirked. You have something that belongs to me. Stand down, or I will erase you and that vessel from existence. Rylan stared, stunned. His heart pounding so loud it drowned out the hum of the ship. The universe spun around him. Two Rylans, two destinies, one built from love, the other from control. He clenched his fists, his pulse synchronizing with the ship's heartbeat. The whispers returned. Ilara's voice among them, soft and fading but resolute. You are more than his shadow. You are the choice he refused to make. The hologram's image distorted as the fleet locked weapons. You can't win, clone, the Admiral said. I've already written this ending. Rylan took a deep breath, feeling the ship's power surge through him. Then maybe it's time to rewrite it. Outside, the stars lit up with converging weapon fire. The ship's core began to glow brighter than any sun. And just as the first plasma barrage struck, the bioship folded space around itself, vanishing into a burst of impossible light, leaving behind only static and the echo of a voice. Initiating divergence protocol. Space unfolded like a wound torn open across the void. The bioship burst out of the distortion field, trailing streams of light behind it as it tumbled through the emptiness between stars. Rylan gasped, gripping the translucent control lattice as the vessel righted itself, stabilizing its flight. His heart pounded so hard it felt like the ship's pulse echoed it. The last thing he remembered before the jump was the fleet's converging fire, the hologram's sneer. His own face looking back at him, and then light. Now there was only silence. Endless, heavy, suffocating silence. He stared out at the dark horizon, where distant nebulae pulsed like dying embers. Where are we? He asked, voice low. The ship's response came through him like a whisper inside his veins. Uncharted space. Time distortion minimal. No pursuit detected. He exhaled shakily. Good. Because I'm not ready for... He stopped mid-sentence as a shiver passed through the ship's surface. A reflection appeared on the glass-like canopy before him. Not of the stars, but of himself. Only it wasn't the same face. The eyes were harder, the expression colder. Miss me? Said a voice that came from everywhere and nowhere at once. Rylan spun around, heart hammering. The reflection stepped forward, solidifying into a holographic projection that looked all too real. The other Rylan, the Admiral. His uniform shimmered with gold insignias, the symbol of the Galactic Order burning like a brand across his chest. You survived the jump? The Admiral said calmly, almost admiringly. Impressive. She must have taught you well. You again, Rylan muttered. How are you still here? The Admiral smiled faintly. You think I'd let my creation run off without supervision? You're part of me, remember. I can reach you anywhere your neural code still exists. Rylan clenched his fists. I'm not part of you. Oh, you are, the Admiral said. You're the fragment I discarded. The weakness that believed love could fix a dying galaxy. He took a slow step forward. Do you even know why you were made? Rylan shook his head, jaw tight. Ilara told me enough. The Admiral's smile faded. She lied. You weren't made to replace me. You were made to protect her. The words hit him like a pulse to the chest. Protect her? From what? From me, the Admiral said softly. Because I was the one who betrayed her. The ship's walls flickered, reacting to the emotional surge inside him. You killed her world, Rylan whispered. I ended a war that would have destroyed both species, the Admiral snapped. Do you have any idea what she was planning? The merging of human and alien consciousness. No more barriers, no more species, no more individuality. It wasn't peace. It was assimilation. The end of what made humanity human. He paused, his gaze piercing. She was using you, Rylan. Both of us. Her love was her weapon. Rylan's throat tightened. Memories crashed through him like waves. Her laughter, her touch, her tears. The warmth in her voice when she said his name. None of it felt like manipulation. "You're lying," he said, though the words trembled. The Admiral tilted his head. "A clone doesn't get to call truth a lie. You were built to love her so I could survive the guilt. You were the vessel for everything I had to erase to command the order without hesitation." He took another step forward, his voice lowering. "I needed to kill empathy to save our kind. So I gave it to you." The ship's light dimmed. Ryland staggered back, the weight of the words crushing him. He could feel the truth pressing at the edges of his mind, like a storm waiting to break. The memories, the war, the last day, her hand in his, the fire in the sky. They weren't his, they were theirs. A shared echo split between two souls. "If that's true," Ryland whispered, "then why do I still feel her? Why do I still remember her?" The Admiral's gaze softened just slightly. "Because she bound you to her with something stronger than code. But feelings don't change facts. I'm the original. You're the shadow. You're what she made out of love. And lies." The ship trembled violently as a blinding flash cut through the void. A beam of energy struck the hull, sending Ryland sprawling. He looked up in shock as another ship burst from hyperspace. Sleek, silver, and pulsing with organic light. The markings on its hull were unmistakable. Ilara's people. "Impossible," the Admiral muttered, glancing at the readings. Her kind was wiped out. The vessel sent out a pulse, and a familiar voice filled the comm channel. Faint, strained, but unmistakable. "Ryland, it's me." "Ilara?" he breathed. Her hologram flickered into being beside him. Pale, weakened, but alive. Her eyes met his, filled with relief and pain. "You did it. You woke the ship. You kept your promise." The Admiral's eyes darkened. "Don't listen to her. She's using the remnants of her world to manipulate you." Ilara looked past him at the projection. "You still think this is about survival, don't you? You never understood what we tried to build. It wasn't assimilation. It was balance." The Admiral scoffed. "Balance? You wanted to erase the line between human and alien, to make us all one mind. To end war," she shot back. "To end loneliness. To prove that love could exist without species or blood." Ryland's head throbbed. Their words clashed like blades inside his mind. "Stop," he muttered. "Both of you." "She's lying to you," the Admiral snapped. "She's dying, Ryland." Ilara's voice broke through his panic, soft and trembling. "You wanted peace once, the real you. But when the war took everything, you chose fear instead. So I created him." She looked at Ryland, her expression tender. "I created you, the part of him that still believed." The Admiral's expression twisted with something close to regret. "She made you out of what I lost. My love for her, my compassion, my weakness. Don't you see? You're not meant to exist." "No," Ryland said quietly. "I'm what's left of what you should have been." The Admiral's face hardened. "Then die with her." His hologram vanished, and his fleet appeared through a tear in space. Dozens of warships surrounding them, weapons charged. The ship's AI screamed through Ryland's mind. "Incoming barrage in 20 seconds. "No," Ryland growled, gripping the controls. "Not again." Ilara's hologram flickered. "Ryland, stop. You'll burn the core." "Then help me," he said. "Guide me like before." Her voice cracked. "I can't. My link, it's breaking." He turned, seeing her real ship flickering, its hull disintegrating under the energy buildup. "Ilara, you have to." But before he could finish, an explosion tore through her vessel. Light engulfed her hologram as she gasped, clutching her chest. The transmission crackled with static. "No!" Ryland shouted. Through the fading signal, she looked up at him one last time, eyes shimmering with tears. "Listen to me," she whispered, her voice weak but steady. "He was never the one who loved me." The connection began collapsing, fragments of light scattering across the cockpit. "It was you, Ryland. Only you." Her image shattered into a burst of starlight as her ship disintegrated into the void. Ryland stood frozen, the words echoing through him, louder than any weapon fire. Outside, the Order's fleet loomed closer, their cannons charging. Inside, his heart broke in silence. And then, as the first blast fired toward him, his reflection appeared once more on the glass. His own face, his own eyes, but now filled with something new. Fury. Resolve. The two versions of him locked eyes across light years as the stars themselves seemed to tremble, and the clone whispered under his breath, "If I'm just a shadow, then it's time for the shadow to burn the light." The stars over New Arcadia burned pale blue that night, casting their ghostly shimmer over the ruins of the once-living house. Smoke from the last galactic barrage still curled faintly in the distance as Rylan knelt beside Alara. Her skin, normally luminescent with quiet silver veins, was now dull and flickering, like the dying lights of a fading constellation. Her hand trembled as it reached toward him, fingertips brushing his cheek. "You were the one who loved me," she whispered, her voice trembling between breaths and static. "Not him." Rylan's throat tightened. Behind them, the living walls of the house pulsed in rhythmic sorrow, echoing her fading heartbeat. The bioship's voice trembled through the floor beneath him. Energy collapsing, memory field deteriorating, identity conflict unresolved. He wanted to scream, to fight the inevitability tearing through the air, but all he could do was hold her. The real Rylan, his original, stood across from him, his face a perfect reflection, except colder, older, eyes full of hardened calculation. "She's not supposed to exist," the original said flatly. "You're not supposed to exist. You're my shadow." An echo of the man who hesitated when the universe needed saving. Rylan stared at him, every memory, every emotion colliding like shattered glass in his mind. He remembered the battles, the peace treaties, the endless arguments about survival and love. He remembered dying in Alara's arms, or maybe watching himself die. The timelines blurred, folding in on themselves like collapsing paper. The house shuddered again, walls flexing as if breathing faster. Energy collapse imminent, it warned. Rylan felt Alara's pulse fade beneath his fingers. He couldn't lose her. Not again, not after everything. "You're wrong," he said quietly, looking up at his other self. "I wasn't made to replace you. I was made to remember what you forgot." The original Rylan's expression hardened. "And what's that? How to love something that isn't human?" For a moment, silence filled the air. Then the living walls responded, pulsing brighter, resonating with his words. The bioship stirred, light surging through its organic veins like new life. Alara's eyes fluttered open briefly, catching Rylan's gaze. "The ship," she whispered weakly. "It listens to you, merge with it." "If I do that, I'll lose myself," he said softly. Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "Then let it remember you for me." The other Rylan moved forward, raising his plasma weapon. "Don't. If you merge, you'll erase us both. Our timelines can't coexist." "Maybe that's the point," Rylan said, his voice breaking, but steady. "Maybe it's time we stop existing twice." He placed his hand against the living wall. The ship pulsed in recognition, its voice now soft, almost human. "Rylan, do you choose integration?" "Yes," he breathed. Integration commencing. Energy surged through him, light pouring from his chest and fingers, merging his body with the bioship's neural core. The real Rylan staggered back as waves of memory and consciousness rippled outward. He saw flashes, Alara's laughter, the day humanity reached the stars, the night he promised her peace beneath a shattered sky. His body began to dissolve into threads of light. "Alara," he whispered, and her fading form smiled one last time before disintegrating into the same golden shimmer. The original Rylan screamed as his own body unraveled, torn apart by paradox. The ship, the house, rose from the ground, unfolding like a blooming star, then folding inward, collapsing into a single, silent pulse of energy that vanished into the night sky. Silence fell. Only the faint hum of the wind moved through the ashes. Weeks later, a family of settlers arrived on the outskirts of New Arcadia. They found the old property abandoned, its walls strangely alive, its surfaces faintly warm to the touch. The father laughed it off as colony tech residue, but the daughter lingered in the hallway, staring at the faint, glowing lines that traced the walls like veins. "Dad," she said softly. "It feels like it's breathing." That night, as the wind howled across the plains, the girl woke to a voice whispering through her dreams. Soft, loving, and impossibly sad. "You came back." She sat up, heart racing, her gaze drawn to the attic door. It was slightly ajar, a pale silver glow seeping through the cracks. The house exhaled faintly, like something awakening after a long sleep. And just for a moment before the light dimmed again, she saw a figure standing there, silver-haired, watching her from the shadows, smiling as if she'd been waiting all this time.